You are standing in your kitchen at 7:42 on an ordinary Thursday morning, waiting for the kettle to boil. The house is quiet except for the low hum of the fridge and the tick of the clock over the doorway. You reach for a mug. You are thinking about emails, about the meeting at 10, about whether you remembered to reply to your mother's text last night. Not emergencies, never emergencies. Your phone buzzes once on the counter, then again harder, with the shrill tone you almost never hear, the one that cuts through silence like a blade. At the same time, outside, a siren starts. Not the rising and falling wail of an ambulance, but a flat, steady tone that does not stop. It presses against the windows like something physical. You read the words on the screen twice before your brain accepts them. National Emergency Alert. The message is terse and specific. Suspected nuclear attack. Shelter. Immediately. Do not look at the flash. You have never seen those words on a real notification. You have seen them in drills, in old films, in hypotheticals you never quite believed. For a second you freeze with your hand on the drawer handle. The kettle clicks off behind you, its ordinary sound now strange. Somewhere down the street a car door slams, then another. A dog begins barking, then stops abruptly. This is the moment you could waste on denial, or you could use it. You put the mug down, you step back from the window. You tell yourself one quiet instruction, like a calm voice in your own head. We are in the first 5 minutes. We act now. In the first 5 minutes after the alert, you move before you fully understand why. You step back from the kitchen window, not running but deliberate. Glass is the first danger. If a nuclear detonation occurs within line of sight, the flash arrives before sound, and windows become shrapnel, traveling at lethal velocity. The thermal pulse can cause permanent blindness. You do not need to see the event to survive it. You need distance from anything that shatters or transmits intense heat. You call out to anyone else in the house. Your voice sounds strange to your own ears, too calm for what you are saying. Get away from the windows. We're going to the hallway. Now. If someone answers, good. If they hesitate, you repeat it once, firmly. If no one responds, you keep moving. You cannot control who hears you. You can only control where you stand. As you pass the stove, you turn the burner off, a reflex, small and automatic. The kettle sits there, steam fading, utterly ordinary. You do not stop to tidy, you do not grab your keys or check your email one more time. Those impulses belong to the person you were 3 minutes ago. The surge of disbelief rises like nausea. This feels like a drill. This cannot be happening. You name it. You let yourself feel it for exactly 2 seconds. Then you replace it with a single grounding phrase. Treat it as real. If it's false, you lose 15 minutes. If it's real, you just saved your life. You reach the hallway, windowless interior walls on both sides. You pause for 2 seconds and scan. What do you have? What do you need? The clock is still ticking somewhere behind you. The siren outside has not stopped. By the 7th or 8th minute, you have made your first real decision. You identify the best shelter area in your home, an interior room with no windows, as far from exterior walls and roof as possible. If you have a basement, that is your destination. Below ground level means earth between you and fallout, the best natural shielding available. If not, an inside hallway, a bathroom without exterior windows, a closet surrounded by other rooms. You do not tour the house comparing options. You choose the best available space now and commit to it. Shielding and distance. These are the 2 civil defense principles that matter most. Thicker materials between you and the outside reduce your exposure to blast debris and, later, to radioactive fallout particles. More interior space means more barriers. A bathroom surrounded by bedrooms is better than a bedroom against an exterior wall. A basement beneath the full weight of the house is better than either. You start moving family members toward that space. If you are alone, you move yourself. If others hesitate, you speak simply. We need to be in this room. Right now, we can talk once we're inside. You do not explain everything. You do not negotiate. Explanation comes later. The urge rises to look outside. Just to glance through the curtain, just to see what is happening. You feel the pull of it, the desperate need for information. You tell yourself clearly, looking does not help. Distance helps. The window will still be there tomorrow. Your eyes will not regenerate if the flash catches them. You pick your spot, the bathroom at the center of the house, the closet under the stairs, the basement corner farthest from windows. You say it either aloud or in your head. This is our shelter now. That mental commitment matters. It stops the searching, the second guessing. It begins the surviving. Somewhere between minute 10 and 15, you gather what improves your first hours. You move quickly, but not frantically. Water containers, bottles, a pitcher, anything clean that holds liquid. A battery-powered radio if you have one. Your phone, though you do not know yet if networks will survive. It's medications that anyone needs daily, blood pressure pills, insulin, inhalers, a small first aid kit, flashlight and extra batteries. These items go into the shelter space in 2 or 3 quick trips. You do not pack clothes, you do not gather valuables or photo albums, you do not load a suitcase as if catching a flight. The blast wave, if one reaches you, armed, will not wait for you to zip your bag. The instinct to run surfaces now, to get in the car, to drive fast in any direction away from the city. You feel the pull of it in your chest, the ancient flight response that insists movement equals safety. Counter it with physics. Blast waves travel faster than any vehicle on a highway. Fallout plumes drift unpredictably with wind. Roads become parking lots within minutes when everyone has the same idea. Shelter beats motion in the first hours unless official guidance explicitly says otherwise. Right now, you have no such guidance. Self-instruction. I can leave later. Right now, I survived the first strike. You pull the shelter door nearly closed. The hallway light flickers once, then steadies. Through the walls, faintly, you hear a distant, low rumble, or perhaps feel it. A vibration in the floor that might be traffic, might be something else entirely. Whether it is near or far, the sensation confirms your choice. You are inside, surrounded by walls. You are not standing at the window. Within the first half hour, as you settle into the interior space, the adrenaline begins to ebb and questions flood in. You sit everyone down if you are not alone. You check quickly for injuries, glass cuts, scrapes from rushing through doorways, falls on stairs. Adrenaline masks pain. Someone might be hurt without realizing it. Then you take 30 seconds to explain, in plain words, what you are doing and why. We are staying inside because after a nuclear blast, dust and debris outside can become radioactive. The more walls between us and that dust, the safer we are. We are not hiding from an explosion. If a blast was going to reach us directly, it already would have. We are sheltering from what comes after, the fallout. Fallout is not a gas. It is not invisible poison seeping through walls like something from a horror film. It is physical material, particles of debris, soil and ash that were sucked into the fireball, irradiated by the nuclear reaction, and then dropped back to Earth as the mushroom cloud drifts and cools. These particles settle on roofs, streets, cars, grass, and any exposed surface. They emit radiation that can damage living tissue. They are most dangerous in the first hours and days after detonation, then decay steadily over time. Walls, distance, and time reduce your dose. This is the fundamental equation of fallout survival. Every barrier between you and contaminated surfaces absorbs some radiation before it reaches your body. The more mass, the better. The farther you are from the source, the less dose you receive. And the longer you wait, the weaker the radiation becomes. Giving this explanation helps anchor everyone. It works on you too. Explaining converts raw fear into structure. You are not cowering. You are executing a protocol that increases your odds. Internal thought, this is what we prepared for, even if only in our heads. You look at the door and the small gaps around its frame. Now you need to turn this ordinary room into a deliberate shelter. In the first hour after the alerts, you begin sealing the room with whatever materials you have. Towels go along the bottom of the door, pressed firmly into the gap where air would otherwise flow. Duct tape, if you can find it, goes in strips along the doorframe and around any vent covers. Trash bags cover air vents that lead directly to exterior walls taped at the edges. Blankets can be hung over interior doorways to create additional barriers. You are not building an airtight bunker. That would be impossible with household materials, and you do not need to achieve it. What you are doing is reducing airflow, minimizing the amount of contaminated dust that might find its way into your breathing space. Even imperfect sealing meaningfully reduces exposure. A towel under a door does not stop all particles, but it stops many of them. Every layer compounds. You close interior doors between your shelter and any spaces with exterior walls, creating barriers within barriers. The bathroom door, then the bedroom door, beyond it, then the door to the hallway leading to the living room with its large windows. Each closed door is another obstacle for airborne particles. The work is small and repetitive, and that is precisely the point. Seal this gap, then the next. Press the towel tighter. Add another strip of tape. Check the corner where wall meets floor. Each completed task shrinks the feeling of helplessness. You are not passively waiting. You are building your own protection, gap by gap. Internal cue, one gap at a time. When you run your hand along the doorframe, you feel significantly less air movement than before. The draft that was noticeable when you started is nearly gone. The room feels more enclosed, more separate from the world outside. Small improvement, real impact. The siren outside has stopped at some point. You are not sure when. The silence feels heavier than the noise did. But inside your sealed room, you have something that matters. Control over your immediate environment. By the end of the first hour, before any further alerts arrive, you focus on water. You fill every clean container you can find while tap pressure still exists. The bathtub, drain plugged tightly, filled to the brim. Pots and pitchers from the kitchen. Every bottle in the house, rinsed and filled. Water is weight, and weight is survival. The average person needs roughly half a gallon per day for drinking alone, more under stress. Municipal systems may fail. Pipes may become contaminated if fallout enters reservoirs. What you store now may be what you drink for the next several days. If you know where your main water shut-off valve is located, you close it. This protects your home's internal plumbing from drawing in potentially contaminated water if the municipal supply becomes compromised later. You bring non-perishable food into the shelter, canned goods with pull-tab lids, crackers, peanut butter, dried fruit, granola bars, anything requiring no cooking. You do not need gourmet meals, you need calories and hydration. Set an initial ration mindset, assume at least 24 to 48 hours indoors, possibly longer. Plan for small, regular sips of water rather than large gulps. Human bodies handle short-term calorie deficits far better than dehydration. Your brain needs water to think clearly. Your discipline depends on staying hydrated. The impulse to stress eat rises, to tear open the crackers and consume them all in one anxious session. You recognize it for what it is, fear seeking comfort. You redirect it. Each sip, each bite, becomes a deliberate choice. I am conserving this resource to keep my mind clear for later. Internal thought, conserve, ration, discipline. You find a marker and write on one water bottle, day 1. The act of writing transforms something in your mind. You are no longer in an endless, panicked present. You are on a timeline now. Timelines have structure. Structure is survivable. Around hour 2, after the immediate tasks are completed and the adrenaline begins to sag, you turn your attention to information. You switch on a battery-powered radio if you have one, or dig out the hand crank emergency model. You turn the dial slowly, scanning through static for any official broadcast. Emergency services, government channels, anything authoritative. You are listening for instructions. Which areas to shelter in? How long to remain inside? What regions have been affected? Your phone may still have signal. If networks are functioning, you send one brief message to people who need to know you are alive. Sheltering at home, inside interior room, safe for now. You do not write paragraphs. You do not ask questions no one can answer yet. You conserve battery. Then you make a critical choice. You select one channel of information, the emergency radio or an official app, and you ignore everything else. Social media feeds will be chaos, rumors, speculation, footage designed to terrify. None of it helps you survive the next hour. All of it threatens your ability to think clearly. You establish a schedule, listen for 5 minutes at the top of each hour, then turn the radio off. And in the gaps between check-ins, you sit in the quiet hum of the sealed room and let your nervous system settle. This is when panic tries to hijack your mind through your screen. Every notification is an invitation to spiral. You push it back by choosing deliberately when and what you allow into your awareness. Internal cue. Silence protects focus. You turn the radio off after a brief update, mostly static, a few fragmented words about staying indoors. The room is quiet now except for small sounds, your own breathing, the faint creak of the house settling, the rustle of someone shifting position nearby. You chose this silence. It belongs to you. By hour 3 or 4, when the first frantic wave of activity has subsided, you turn your attention to making the room livable. You arrange seating and sleeping areas, cushions pulled from the couch, a mattress dragged from the nearest bedroom, blankets spread across the floor. You are not trying to make the space comfortable. You are making it sustainable. You may be here for a day or more, and bodies need rest. Minds need the permission to close their eyes. You designate a toilet solution for situations where leaving the shelter would break your protective barriers. A bucket lined with heavy-duty trash bags covered tightly when not in use. Cat litter if you have it, or shredded newspaper to absorb moisture and control odor. This is not dignified, it is necessary. Illness from poor sanitation escalates quickly under stress when immune systems are compromised and medical access is non-existent. You separate the room into zones, a clean corner where food and water are stored, kept as far as possible from a waste corner. You explain this division to anyone sheltering with you. Boundaries matter, order matters. The human mind copes better with crisis when the physical environment has visible structure. Denial often resurfaces here. It won't really last that long. This is probably overkill and will be out by tonight. Counter these thoughts directly. If it ends sooner, wonderful. If it doesn't, we will be deeply grateful we prepared. Internal cue, prepare anyway. You sit back and survey the room. It no longer looks like a panic hideout. It looks like a rough camp, organized, intentional, equipped for duration. That visible shift reflects a shift in your psychological state. You are not hiding. You are enduring. As evening arrives and the first night after the alerts begins, time stretches in ways you did not anticipate. You establish a simple cycle. Check the radio at set intervals, drink water at scheduled times, use the toilet solution according to need, then rest. When your mind knows what action comes next, the formless dread has less room to expand. Structure displaces anxiety. Routine creates the illusion of normalcy. You dim the lights if power is still functioning, partly to conserve electricity, partly because darkness signals to your body that rest is permitted. If power has gone out, you use flashlights only when truly needed. Batteries are finite. Darkness costs nothing. If you are sheltering with others, you establish quiet hours and a watch rotation. Someone stays awake during each shift, listening for changes outside, monitoring anyone who seems unwell. Children, if present, need to see adults resting with apparent calm. Fear is contagious, but so is steadiness. Fallout radiation is most intense in the first hours after detonation, then decays according to predictable physics. This night is not the time to step outside, to open a door and investigate strange noises. It is the time to remain where you are and let radiation levels outside drop while walls protect you. When anxious thoughts spiral in the darkness, what if we're already exposed? What if no help is coming? Pull your attention back to the present moment. Right now, I am breathing. I am inside. The seals are holding. The walls stand between me and contamination. I do not need to solve tomorrow's problems tonight. At some point past midnight, you realize you have not checked the time in over an hour. Your racing thoughts have slowed. Your body, exhausted beyond what adrenaline can mask, is beginning to adjust. Just enough to survive, just enough to continue. By hour 10 or 12, when nothing dramatic seems to be happening, and the initial terror has faded into dull endurance, the temptation to break discipline peaks. You feel the urge to open a door, just a crack, to peek through a gap in the curtains, to see whether the world outside still resembles the one you knew yesterday. The silence is unsettling. If it were really dangerous out there, surely you would hear something. The quiet feels like permission. You do not look. You recognize the urge for what it is. Your mind seeking certainty, seeking relief from grinding uncertainty, and you redirect it into action. Instead of opening doors, you check your existing seals. You add another layer, another towel pressed more firmly into the gap, another strip of tape reinforcing edges. Productive action displaces destructive impulse. If someone else in the shelter insists on going outside, you respond with calm firmness. You explain fallout again, invisible particles settling on every surface, emitting radiation that accumulates with exposure. You explain the timeline. Radiation levels drop dramatically with each passing hour, but we are not yet at a safe threshold. If words do not work, you create a task. Inventory, the water supply, count the food. Busy hands, quiet, restless minds. A crucial lesson from civil defense research. Many casualties in fallout zones occur not from the initial blast, but from people who emerged too soon. Every hour you wait increases your safety margin. Patience is not passive. Patience is strategy. Acknowledge the frustration. It feels irrational to sit here doing nothing when everything outside seems quiet. Name that feeling, then pair it with facts. Quiet does not equal safe. Radioactive particles make no sound as they settle. Internal thought, wait, one more hour. You make another tick mark on the paper tracking time. Another hour survived by discipline alone. Sometime during the night or early morning, you hear footsteps outside your shelter. They are hesitant, uneven, someone walking along the street or perhaps through your yard. Then a knock, or what might be a knock, a sound against wood repeated twice. A voice, muffled by the sealed door, calling something you cannot quite make out. This is the hardest test. You decide, or you have already decided, how you will respond. During the period of highest fallout danger, you do not open the door widely. You can respond through the barrier. We're sheltering in place. Find an interior room, get inside and stay inside. You can offer information without compromising your protection. If someone outside is clearly in immediate life-threatening distress and you choose to help, you do it with minimal exposure. Cover your nose and mouth. Open the door only as much as necessary. Provide quick assistance, then reseal immediately. Understand that this increases risk to everyone inside. It may be a moral decision you make consciously with eyes open to the cost. There is no universally correct answer, there is only an honest one. Whatever you choose, choose it deliberately, not impulsively. Then recommit to your shelter. Close what you opened. Check your seals. Return to your position. After the footsteps fade and silence returns, you sit with the weight of what happened. You feel relief that the encounter ended and sorrow that you could not do more. Both emotions are valid, neither changes what you must do next. The quiet settles back, the sealed room holds. You breathe slowly, counting to 4 on the inhale and 4 on the exhale. Internal thought, continue. Just continue. You have not abandoned your discipline. In the calculus of survival, that matters more than comfort. By the time first light filters weakly through the edges of curtains and around door frames, you have survived the night. Resist the instinct to interpret sunrise as an all-clear signal. Dawn is beautiful, and your exhausted mind wants desperately to read it as permission, as safety, as the end of the ordeal. Do not let it. Check your time marks, how many hours since the first alert. If less than 24, you remain inside unless official instructions clearly direct otherwise. Morning light is not safety. Elapsed time plus verified information is safety. The sun does not know what happened last night. The sun rises regardless. You conduct a brief systems check of your shelter and its occupants. Water level, how much consumed, how much remains. Is it sufficient for another full day if needed? Food supply adequate for continued sheltering. Battery status on radio and phone, enough charge for scheduled check-ins throughout the day. Physical symptoms of anyone inside, headaches, nausea, unusual fatigue, skin irritation. Any signs of illness? These could indicate radiation exposure, or they could simply indicate the accumulated toll of stress, dehydration, and poor sleep in an uncomfortable space. Note symptoms without panicking about them. Monitor and document carefully. Adjust rationing if needed to extend supplies through another day. If water is lower than expected, reduce intake slightly, but do not stop drinking entirely. Dehydration impairs cognitive function faster than hunger, and your ability to think clearly remains your most critical survival tool. A foggy mind makes poor decisions. Poor decisions get people killed. The novelty of crisis has worn off completely. The adrenaline that carried you through the first hours is long depleted. What remains now is pure endurance. The unglamorous, grinding work of continuing to do exactly what you have been doing hour after hour without external reward or confirmation that rescue is coming. This is where the routines you established early prove their value. When doubt creeps in, when the voice in your head whispers that surely this is over by now, you anchor back to your schedule instead of your anxiety. Trust the process you built. Internal cue. Continue. Simply continue. 1 hour, then the next. The radio crackles with a clearer signal than the fragmented static you caught during the night. You lean forward, adjusting the dial with careful fingers, holding your breath as voices fade in and out. Ready now to hear whatever comes next. The morning light catches the edge of your marked water bottle where it sits against the wall. Day 1 is written there in your own handwriting. That day is almost complete. You are still here. You made it through the darkness. Around the 24th hour after the first alert arrived, you turn the radio on for your scheduled check, and this time catch a sustained, coherent broadcast. A voice, tired but professional, clearly reading from prepared information, describes affected regions by name, advises which areas should continue sheltering, identifies zones where limited movement may now be possible, lists locations where emergency aid stations are being established. You listen with focused attention, comparing what you hear against your own estimate of your distance from likely target areas. You note key details on your scrap of paper: names, directions, timeframes. If the instructions say your area should remain sheltered, you commit without resentment or complaint to another period inside. You have already proven to yourself that you can do this. Additional hours are simply more of what you have already accomplished. You know the rhythm now. You know you can sustain it for as long as necessary. If the broadcast indicates your area lies outside the heaviest fallout zones and that cautious movement to designated locations is now advisable, you begin planning your next steps, not rushing out immediately but preparing methodically. A cloth mask or fabric covering your nose and mouth, long sleeves and pants to minimize exposed skin, shoes you can move quickly in, a clear destination in mind, a specific aid station, a designated meeting point, not aimless wandering through an altered landscape, purposeful movement with protection, executed with the same discipline that kept you alive indoors. On a piece of paper, or directly on the water bottle with your marker, you write today's date and a simple phrase: "We stayed inside, we're still here." Take a moment to recognize what you have actually accomplished. You resisted the overwhelming urge to panic when panic would have been the easiest response. You constrained impulses that could have killed you. You managed finite resources with discipline and foresight when every instinct screamed to consume everything immediately. You transformed an ordinary room into a survivable shelter, and then you survived in it, hour after hour, through darkness and uncertainty and fear. Let a quiet sense of earned competence settle into your chest without releasing the caution that kept you alive. You are not safe in any absolute sense. The world outside has changed in ways you do not yet fully understand, and the crisis is far from over. But you are alive, you are thinking clearly, you are physically capable of making your next decision and executing your next action. That matters. That is everything. The kettle still sits on the kitchen counter where you left it 24 hours ago, cold and utterly forgotten. Through the half-open shelter door, you can glimpse the kitchen, dimmer now than yesterday morning, a fine layer of dust visible on surfaces that were clean when you last stood there, but structurally intact. The mug you were reaching for when the alert first arrived still sits beside the stove, empty, waiting for a morning that feels like it belonged to someone else's life. You listen to the radio voice resolving through fading static, delivering information you can finally use. You listen to your own breathing, measured and steady, no longer ragged with fear. No triumph swells in your chest. No celebration. Just the quiet, heavy weight of having endured the first day by doing the one thing that most people, in their panic and denial and desperate need to act, failed to do. Staying inside and staying in control of yourself when everything outside spun beyond anyone's control. The siren is silent now. The morning light grows slowly stronger, filtering through gaps you did not perfectly seal. Somewhere beyond these walls, the world continues in whatever damaged form it has taken. Inside, you have learned to wait. You have learned that waiting is not weakness but strategy. And when the time comes to move again, you will be ready. Not because you are special or trained or lucky, but because you chose discipline over panic in the moments when it mattered most. The water bottle sits in your hand, marked with your own writing. Day 1 complete.